Good morning, this is Kathy and this is the pre-market analysis for Wednesday, June 25th. All right, ES has been in retracement mode of a bearish pattern. After the second test, it kind of breached the ideal minimum retracement target, but it's still considered a shallow retracement at this juncture. Currently, it's stalling and bouncing into resistance. So, as long as it holds above this 43.75, the next golden ratio zone of 47.25 is the next target. Now, that's going to be close to the last opportunity to validate that new bearish cross. A hold above that golden ratio zone of 47.25 implies a test of the top of the GRZ, 51.75, and then a retest of the PRZ, with the top of it being at 1959.75. Above there, potential breach, actually I like this, is the has a GRZ level 61.75, but ideal target is 1967. Okay, so where price is in relation to these two golden ratio zones is absolutely key, and it gives us clues. Now, 3 days ago it was an NR 7-day, and then the next day was barely much more of that. And so yesterday we got our expansion day, and it did go in both directions. So what that did is form important support and resistance to break and hold. The support is what I consider a neutral zone, so that 1939 area, 1938.50, if it holds below there, the implication is it is no longer at this juncture interested in seeking value higher, but wants to return to previous value. So the green zones come into play. Above 1960, you have to depend on fibs. There is potential chop between 1957.75 and 1950, or if it holds below 1950, and currently it's at 1943.50, so it is below there, there's potential chop between there and 42.50. CL is in between opposing emerging patterns. Now, it's really kind of teeter-tottering about whether or not it's going to complete this green pattern that has upside targets for its completion. It's really getting sloppy because of this big pullback. So right now I'm watching for the blue fibs and the brown fibs to more play out. So right now, as long as it holds below this 106.62, the ideal target is bullish Gartley at 105.73. Now what this does is it just helps price. What it's doing right now is prices in a sideways range, and a completion of that Gartley or the double bottom of 105.25 just helps price stay inside that sideways range, right? It's really not until price breaks one of these significant level line in the sands, either 107.50 or 105.25. Until then, there's just harmonic patterns that are going to help test the extremes of that range. If there's a break to the upside, then the ideal target is 108.81, but there's a gap at 108.39 and 107.38, well, that gap is going to correlate with this little blue pattern that I don't really have drawn, but here's the scenario. Now that we're getting a pullback to go there, and that's just going to help test the top of the range, right? So if there's a breakdown of 105.25, and I know there's some stuff got to deal with in between, but if we get to the extremes of the range and it breaks down 105.25, then the ideal target is this 103.86. Actually, there's a gap at 89, so that could be the stopping point, or it could be the 103.86, and scaling points at these brown fibs or green and yellow zones. Profile makes it very easy to see that price is holding inside these two yellow zones, right? So until it can break beyond those, that's what we've been talking about. It's really just testing the extremes of the range. There's a triple POC type composite high volume node that prices really keeps lingering towards 106.50, 106.15, and 105.50 area. I already said there's a gap at the 103.89 if it does break down. All right, NQ is in retracement mode of a bearish crab, and it has approached a 61.8% retracement target. Now the ideal target for this is going to be either at 37.54.25 or the 100% at 37.44.75. Failure to get there implies it's still a shallow retracement. Now, because yesterday was an expansion day, could need to take care of some unfinished business first before it continues its retracement, unless it pushes back above this PRZ, back above 38.24.50. So right now it is validating a bearish cross. It's holding inside this larger golden ratio zone 37.96, and it could breach it to test the nearby golden ratio zone 37.99.25. What happens amidst these two golden ratio zones are key, because if it holds inside this lower one, it implies it's going to test the bottom of it, and if it breaks below it, then we go into our retracement target scenario. If it holds above 37.99.25, it implies it's going to try to retest that PRZ in these gray fibs or scaling points, and that would also enforce the scenario of taking care of some unfinished business of yesterday's expansion range. Okay, right now the major magnet in this particular composite is 37.91.75, and the initial levels to break and hold is 38.03.50 or 37.75.75, and that's to get away from that magnet. Okay. DAX is toying with this trend line, which is a pretty good guideline for this larger bullish butterfly. If it holds above it, and there's been no commitment of holding above it yet, but if it holds above it, this is a very important level at 99.47.50, because if it breaches that, it's going to change the dynamics of this pattern, the large one, to where this butterfly PRZ is not as important as the extended one of 96.99. Okay, don't have to worry about that for now. I would still look at that 97.75.50 as a point of interest, even if it does that switch. Okay, but right now what I'm looking at is, oh, that is invalidated. It needs to be removed. Okay, the brown pattern is done. It's been eliminated. So I'm looking for this very small pattern to help price hold above this significant level, and then I want to see what happens if it gets to this 99.47.50. If it holds above 99.59, the implication is it can go all the way up to 10,056, and that 10,021 is a scaling point, as well as we can add 99.97.5. Okay, if it holds below this golden ratio zone and below this trend line, it increases the probability of testing these two PRZ targets below. TF is in retracement mode of a large bearish crab, large for intraday purposes, and a smaller bullish deep crab has completed, which has helped that retracement of 61.8% become more realistic, right? So it's almost gotten there. If this bullish deep crab decides to go into retracement mode, it needs to hold first above this 1168.2, and the ideal minimum retracement target is 1173.3. So what this is telling me, we have a new bearish cross, double bearish cross. So what this tells me, if it holds above this 1168.2, it is strictly bouncing into resistance in a downside bias until proven otherwise, meaning a hold above 1173.3. Otherwise, breakdown of 1164.5 and continues with the retracement targets, and the next target I'd look for is 1155.9. Ideally want to go to 1147.2. And 6C is still in a tight range, triangular type formation in between several opposing emerging patterns. Watch first for the break of this golden ratio zone, and then the significant levels, and then the PRZs come into play. All right, that's it for me. Have a great day. See you in the room.